Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about this week's TV news. And we're a little bit late. We usually get this show out early on a Saturday. We're not recording it this week till late Sunday. We're a little bit behind this week. So if you do watch all of the new stuff we do, which is the TV, the movie, and the trailer talk, there's no trailer talk this week. We're just going to roll those trailers into next week's episode. So that's what's going to happen there. You got a pretty epic trailer talk last week though with Comic-Con though, so I mean you've got enough to tide you over. But so that's what's happening. So we're a little bit late. Movie news likewise will be a day late as well. We're recording that tomorrow. So, but hey, so we do have a lot of TV news this week. It's quite meaty actually. We have leftover stuff from just after Comic-Con at the tail end. We have the start of the TCA press tour stuff sort of creeping in. You can tell the AMC and Netflix had their meetings already. Because because I went to check, because I originally did the news on Friday, because that's when we normally record it, and then we couldn't record it on Friday, but the news was done, and just before we recorded tonight, I said, I better check and see if anything's happened since Friday, and normally not a lot does at the weekend. The weekend's usually quite quiet. Luckily I checked though, because there was actually like a good 8 or 9 things.
I'd happened to have seen a couple of these, so I was going to make sure you checked anyway, but
But yeah, so that's why. So I expect that a lot of the other networks will have TCA news for us for next week's episode. But that's what's happening. So, and obviously at the end we also pick our favourite episode of TV of the week, and we actually have 2 things to pick from this week. So,
do we?
That's exciting. Yeah. Sharp Objects and Castle Rock.
Oh, I forgot about Sharp Objects. That was so long ago. We're basically at the next episode that I forgot about it.
Yeah, it's a good sign though. It's a very good sign. So I've got my news on my tablet this week. If you're watching to the audio, this doesn't make a difference. If you're watching the video, this looks a little bit different. There's also a missing bookcase behind me. Let's just say there was rage, and there was a crash landing, and no cats were hurt in the demolition of that bookcase, but I did lose a bookcase out of it. So that's all I'm saying. Anyway, we'll move on. We'll move on to news. We have news. We have lots of news. So starting off with some renewals, just to fire these at you quickly. We have Yellowstone was renewed by Paramount Network for Season 2. The Man in the High Castle was renewed for Season 4 by Amazon. Sneaky Pete was also renewed by Amazon for Season 3. Cloak and Dagger was renewed for Season 2 by Freeform. Sci-Fi renewed Wynonna Earp for Season 4. I like that show, so that's pretty. I mean, I've not watched it since like early Season 2, but I liked it so far, so good news.
Yeah.
Here's one that just happened, very relevant given what's just coming up. Better Call Saul has been renewed for Season 5 by AMC.
Yeah, I thought that one was particularly interesting. I know. TCAs, that's why they're doing it, but obviously we got originally we had 1 and 2 announced together. Yeah. But Season 3 and 4, they came right at the end of their seasons, right? The renewals, like at around the last episode, if not slightly after.
Honestly, I think 5 is the last one.
Do you think?
I think because Breaking Bad was 5. Not that it has to match, but I feel like this was. I mean, you can tell watching that show that the entire thing was mapped out to some extent. Like they had like an overall story that they were doing, and I think 5 is probably the last one. I could be wrong, but I think they're announcing it early because it's like
we'll see when we get there.
Yeah, I mean they didn't say it was the final one, but
I think that's the only thing that goes against that. Usually, if it's going to be the last season, they kind of tell you with that renewal when they come at this stage.
But that may be what they save for the end of the season. Like, okay, next one's the final one. Like,
could well be, yeah.
So that's cool. AMC also renewed Fear the Walking Dead for Season 5. Do you know what's funny? I feel like the shows I don't watch, because this is a great example of this, because that and Better Call Saul are both hitting Season 5, right, with a renewal. But Fear the Walking Dead is the one that makes me feel like, oh shit, 5 years have went by. What happened? Because I don't pay attention to that show, and I'm like, it felt like that started like 2 years ago.
Yeah. Also, the fact that we've only had 3 seasons of Saul, like we haven't actually had Season 4 yet.
That's true. Whereas Fear the Walking Dead's second half of Season 4 is just about to start airing.
Yeah, but that's already had half of it.
True. It's not that different though. They're not miles
It's
apart.
not that different. It's not. No, I agree with the sentiment.
Right.
I'm like, wait, that's on 5 already?
Yeah.
Or getting to 5.
So, and then also renewed this week was Altered Carbon by Netflix for Season 2. But with an interesting little twist here. In fact, so interesting that we actually didn't predict this. We didn't think they would do this. But I think we made the recommendation that they should have done this in the first place.
Yeah, I think we said that maybe they should do it,
Yeah.
but we expected them not to because they wanted, that they might have wanted to keep just the consistency.
Yeah, so it's been renewed, and they've actually recast the main role, which normally would be a sign of concern, but in that show it's not, because in that show the entire conceit is that the characters can jump around different bodies, and the real character Takeshi Kovacs, he like, you know, he's we see glimpses of him in flashbacks and stuff, but you know, it was Joel Kinnaman who played him for all the present day season 1 stuff. Season 2 is going to be Anthony Mackie, because one of the things we said is that, you know, changing the race is part of the plot and that makes it fine, but it still kind of feels a little bit iffy they went with a white guy. Like, you know, it just feels a bit white saviour-y, you know, just oh, we wanted a white guy, so it made sense to go with a white guy. And we said, well, how about you keep the race change, but you pick someone who's not white, you know, pick a black man, a Hispanic man, whatever. So this is what they've done for season 2. They're switching.
Honestly, John, is a part of that show is to travel between planets. They don't do it with ships. They do it by just uploading the data and going into a new body on said planet. I would love if we just had, 3 or 4 different actors and we could jump around planets. You know, all the same character.
Yeah.
And just jump around like that.
We didn't really like season 1 that much. We were pretty down on it by the time it ended.
Yeah, I'm not particularly enthused about season 2.
No, honestly, someone asked me would we be covering it the other day, and I said if it's quiet, we'll give it a try. If it's not quiet, there's no chance in hell.
Yeah,
like if we're busy,
that seems reasonable.
Yeah, if we're busy, there's no way in hell we're going to spend time on it. But that's kind of how we finished season 1. Is there was nothing else to take us away from it.
It happened to be quiet, yeah. Because again, if that had been even slightly busier, if something had come up, we'd have probably just gone, let's not bother with the rest of this.
Yeah. So next up we got some premiere dates. First up, Amazon's The Romanoffs, which is coming from Matthew Weinert, who made Mad Men. We've been hearing about this in the works for a couple of years now. That's coming on October 12th, so you can expect that then. There's technically a trailer out for it, but there's no footage in it. Like I didn't even watch it. Like it said that in the article. There's no footage in the trailer. It's just text and what. I was like, fine, I won't watch it then. Doesn't matter. Nothing to comment on.
If October 12th, you said?
Yes.
Yeah, if we do get to that one to try that'll be a little bit late because I'm away that week.
Okay, yeah. I'd rather that than something else to get announced for October coming up in a bit. So.
Oh, I know. But I've been keeping an eye on these October announcements, being like, which ones are falling when I'm away.
Yeah. Okay, so Netflix announced the premiere date for Maniac. This is one we've heard about for a while as well. This is Emma Stone and Jonah Hill. I've got the description here, but this is coming on September 21st. It's a 10-episode limited series, so it's one and done. The series tells the stories of Annie Landsberg and Owen Milgram, 2 strangers drawn to the late stages of a mysterious pharmaceutical trial, each for their own reasons. Annie's disaffected and aimless, fixated on broken relationships, and her mother and her sister. With her mother and her sister, rather. that was my bad. I just misread that.
That makes much more sense.
Yeah. Owen is the 5th son of a wealthy New York industrialist and has struggled his whole life with a disputed diagnosis of schizophrenia. So we've been hearing. I think this was star power. This was like, okay, you've got Emma Stone and Jonah Hill, so you get a lot of headlines because of that. So
yes, and I'll be honest, there's only one of those I particularly really like.
Oh yeah, Emma Stone, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's coming September 21st.
I have to say, that premise doesn't particularly excite me. The only detail about this show that really makes me go, well, I need to watch this, is the director.
Yes, which is Kerry Fukunaga, right?
Yes, who did obviously all of True Detective season 1.
Yes.
The good season, the only season.
Not season 2,
as of right now.
but just season 1.
Yes, and the direction for that season was spectacular and probably what made the show as good as it was.
Yeah, that and the 2 leads. That was basically it.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm confident enough in the leads for this one.
Oh sure. So yeah, we'll definitely try this one if nothing else. Come September 21st. Yeah. So that's there. And then they also announced the premiere date for the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina on the most obvious date they were going to announce for it, and that is October 26th. Which, I mean, I've not actually checked, but I'm assuming that is the closest Friday before.
It's the last Friday before
Halloween. That just makes a lot of sense. Unless they wanted to break their rule and just go with 31st, which they might have done. They did it with Stranger Things, right?
Did
they?
I can't remember if they did in the end. We definitely speculated about it.
because you argued they might, and I said they wouldn't, and I feel like you won that, but maybe I'm just.
I feel like I might have done, but maybe I didn't, because they did it a few times in the months leading up to that, where they threw things out on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, didn't they?
Let's just say I was right. I won. So
I mean, this is easily verifiable.
It is, but don't go looking. That's cheating. So yeah, obviously we're looking forward to this. I'm really intrigued by this. Obviously we will be covering Chilling Adventures of Sabrina come October 26th. And there's a little bit here. The series stars Kiernan Shipka in the title role that reimagines the origin and adventures of Sabrina the Teenage Witch as a dark coming-of-age story that traffics in horror, the occult, and witchcraft. Earlier descriptions also said there was full-on Lovecraftian horror elements to it and shit.
They did,
so,
yeah.
Give me Cthulhu. That's all I'm saying. Cthulhu was in the comic.
Yeah. Was he?
Oh yeah, it was the first or second issue that the ants were trying to marry her to Cthulhu.
Oh. Alright, fair enough.
So look forward to that. And then still Netflix, they announced the premiere date for The Kaminsky Method, which is a comedy we heard about a while ago. It is Chuck Lorre doing it, so I'm not as excited in that sense. But it is Michael Douglas and Alan Arkin as two friends tackling life's inevitable curveballs as they navigate their later years in Los Angeles, a city that values youth and beauty. It's 8 episodes. It's coming November 16th. So,
I'm good.
Yeah, I like Alan Arkin. Michael Douglas is alright.
Yeah, but it's Chuck Lorre, so I'm good.
Yeah. I like him very much. Next up, we did get a trailer for the first, which I forgot to tell Connor about, so I shall tell you my thoughts.
Just on premiere dates, we did get Castlevania Season 2.
Oh, was that this week? Oh, go on.
Yeah, that was only today, I think that was as we're recording.
Something fell through the cracks. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's also October 26th. Which is obviously the same day as Sabrina. They're just hitting that Halloween content.
They are. I'll tell you right now, folks. We will cover Castlevania Season 2. Season 1 wasn't bad. Sabrina's getting priority treatment, though, when it hits.
Don't tell Tim that. You might hurt his soul.
Look. I mean, I get into Castlevania well enough, but there's no way in hell come that Friday I'm like, no, let's do Castlevania first. No.
I'll be honest. I'm more interested in Castlevania.
Tough. Sabrina. But yeah, the first trailer. This.
Well, you watch that one. I'll watch Castlevania, and we'll do a review of them both, and we'll just tell each other. Be a crazy crossover experiment.
Don't come and break my format. Just because you want to be awkward. So the first is the mission to Mars, and it's but it's focusing on the impact on the family and stuff. This is Sean Penn. So it's
just an Amazon one.
I can't remember.
Am I mixing this up with something else?
I can't remember. Give it a quick Google if you want to get those details. But it looked like very strong. It looked like you're kind of not like a sci-fi. It looked more like the sort of your space mission drama, I guess is how I'd put it. But it's got a very kind of dreamy quality to it, and it's like the wonderment of space and the adventure, but the dangers of it and the worry that it might not come back. It was, it's playing with all that kind of thing.
One of those.
Some nice visuals though. Definitely looks something that was worth trying. So
that's cool. I just checked. It's co-production between Hulu and Channel 4.
There you go. Hulu.
It's set to debut September 14th.
Cool. Next up, and clearly the most important item this week, regardless of what else is popping up, we got a Buffy the Vampire Slayer update. The sequel / reboot / reimagining to the hit television show. So it's funny, the internet, I felt was obsessed with this Buffy thing being a complete remake of the original. But I remember, if you go back and look at our reaction to this last week, we read the description, the line that said something like is contemporary,
continuing the lore,
yes, but enriching the mythology set up by the original. I was like, okay, so it's not like a redo, it's set in the same world later, but taken in the history.
Yeah, it was our immediate reaction was, okay, so it's kind of a sequel, it's another
but
Slayer, right?
I actually have to give a lot of websites some shit for this, because I think there was a lot of websites, when they were writing their articles, they were assuming it was a remake, and they started saying, oh, they're going to cast this, I mean, there was no one cast, but they mentioned the lead character was going to be a black woman, said, oh, there's going to be a black woman cast as Buffy. There was so many articles from sites that are supposed to be journalists just assuming that, and it was spreading a lot of misinformation.
Do you know what I think the problem is? It's people mixing up the difference between reboot and remake. because there is a difference. A remake is the same story told again. A reboot is just a jumping on point almost. It can ignore the original works, but it's okay. Here's the new take.
A reboot is a very flexible term, and I think people just take it to mean remake, and I don't think that's accurate. I would count the Force Awakens as a reboot.
That's usually termed a soft
reboot,
right?
Sure.
Where it's a jumping on point. Here you go, come along, but everything still happened, and then you have more like the harder reboots like Star Trek, the J.J. Abrams one.
Yes, but I would not.
Which is again, it's still not a direct.
But here's the thing, though.
It's a reboot.
I would never call Rob Zombie's Halloween a reboot. It's a remake.
Okay, I've not seen it for the context. To be fair, if it's just doing the exact same things, then
well, no, it's adding in a bunch of other shit as well. But I mean, it's still retelling the story of the first movie.
Yeah, but that's. I mean, is it telling the same story?
Yeah, once it gets to it, after the shitty backstory inserts,
then yeah, it's a remake, because I think that's the key difference. Like, I'm using the Star Trek example because that's okay. Here's characters that it's, but it's not the same. I mean, Into Darkness is a different story. Let's not murk it up here. But just '09, it's a fresh story, right? It's the same characters, but it's not a retelling of a specific story. Whereas Halloween, by the sounds of it, is okay. Yeah, there's other stuff in there, but it is retelling that story, and that's a remake. There's a difference.
Like, you don't have to keep referring to the one I use. You can pick your own that you've seen, so you can actually say it without going. Allegedly, this is a remake.
I'm just saying it's easier than me thinking of one. I'll just take your word for it.
I'm sure you've seen a remake in your time. You can think of one.
I have, but I'm tired.
But anyway, so many people were convinced that this was like flat out like recasting Buffy and doing it again and whatever. That Monica Owusu-Breen, who's the new showrunner for the new series, put out in I think it was Instagram or was it Twitter? I don't know, social media. She put out in social media. For 7 seasons, I watched Buffy Summers grow up, find love, kill that love. I watched her fight and struggle and slay. There was only one Buffy, one Xander, one Willow, Giles, Cordelia, Oz, Tara, Kendra, Faith, Spike, Angel. Kendra's an interesting. Like, I feel like every other character there's a really important character, and then Kendra's like she was in like 2 episodes.
Well, you know why though, don't you? Because people were speculating.
Sure,
that,
yeah,
like,
okay,
for whatever reason, Kendra would be the new Slayer.
It was we're going to have a Black Slayer. Oh, there was one Black Slayer, and actually no, there was 2 though. To be fair, if you know your Slayer history, there was the one that Spike killed in New York in the 70s. Just FYI, before anyone,
Yeah, but no one knew her name, so it doesn't count. As far as the internet's concerned, right?
It's weird. Like, there's no Anya, but Kendra's mentioned.
Yeah,
there's no Dawn, but Kendra's mentioned.
Like I said, that is the only reason Kendra's mentioned.
That's it. I'll take Kendra over Riley. But anyway, they can't be replaced. Joss Whedon's brilliant and beautiful series can't be replicated. I wouldn't try to. There's a little bit more than that, but that was the main bit. So yeah, she's basically just confirming what we thought. I mean, it's not even just like we assumed. Like, we did take it was a piece of the writing they said, and we said that sounds like this to us. And everyone else just ignored it.
Because we did think about it.
Yeah.
We questioned it for a minute, and then went, no, that doesn't track with what they're saying.
Yeah, but the internet likes to get itself up in a tizzy and assume things, and here we are. Now this could be good, it could be bad. This is not a testament to the quality of the final product, but it is definitely not just recasting Buffy and Co. This is going to be. And I will tell you, oddly enough, which she says, I watched Buffy Summers grow up, find love, kill that love. That phrasing there makes me hopeful for the wit.
Yeah, fair enough.
I don't know.
Well, listen, I'm not familiar with her. I mean, I know she has some credits to her name, but I'm not familiar with her work on a personal level.
The credits that are relevant to us in terms of stuff we like is for me at least, Fringe, and for both of us, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So
yeah, and she worked on Lost as well, I believe.
Oh, did she? And both of those notably, I mean, obviously S.H.I.E.L.D. was created by Whedon, but both of those notably had like core families of like characters, like core groups, which is the Buffy thing.
So again, like, I can't speak to the quality of her work, but I don't see. I don't have any reason to worry either. Like, maybe it won't be very good. You know, that's a possibility.
That's a judgment
I don't
for the
want
time,
that,
not now when it's not even been cast or written.
right. With the information we've got right now, I have no reason to be concerned.
Yeah. All right. So moving on. Alfre Woodard from Luke Cage and 12 Years a Slave and a bunch of other stuff. She has been tapped to star opposite Jason Momoa in Apple's original drama series called C. This is the mystery one coming from Stephen Knight. A little bit more information though. It's 10 episodes set in the future.
Is this SEE or SEA?
SEE. And that'll be clear when I tell you the little description here. C is set in the future when the human race has lost the sense of sight and society has had to find new ways to interact, to build, to hunt and survive. All of that is challenged when a set of twins with sight is born.
Okay.
It's an interesting premise.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Apple. I mean, I'm being skeptical. I'm keeping expectations low for everything Apple for now.
I mean, they've got so many shows in development. One of them is bound to be good.
Yeah. But I'm not gonna pay attention to that.
Okay.
Statistics mean nothing.
We have. That's not entirely true, but
I love statistics. What am I on about?
70% of all statistics are wrong. That's a quality joke.
Yeah, that's probably true.
That's a quality joke, though. Anyway, so we have a lot of casting updates for all the superhero shows. Most of the CW ones, and also a little bit of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Start with that. S.H.I.E.L.D. Deke Shaw, who's played by Jeff Ward. Jeff Ward is going to be bumped to regular for season 6. So that's cool, because we liked him a lot in the last season.
Yeah, does answer some questions about the end of the last season.
Yeah,
cool.
it means the ambiguous thing at the end with him, which we won't spoil for anyone who's catching up or whatever. But it means that's okay. All right, it's not ambiguous anymore. But like, I liked him enough that I'd rather have him around. So
yeah, no, me too. And I know we're not getting that till next summer, but that's in production now. They're shooting.
Yep. So moving on to Supergirl, bunch of stuff here. Transgender activist Nicole Maines from Royal Pains in the Trans List is set to regular the 4th season as Naya Nal, aka Dreamer. We also have April Parker Jones has been cast as Colonel Haley, and we have David Ajala who's been cast as Manchester Black. And that one sticks out because Manchester Black's of course a Superman villain.
Because we know who that is. Yeah. All the rest of them I'm not familiar with.
Well, I've got some little descriptions for each one here. Naya Nal is the newest addition to the Catco reporting team, a young, soulful transgender woman with a fierce drive to protect others. Naya's journey this season means fulfilling her destiny as the superhero Dreamer, much like Kara came into her own as Supergirl. We got Colonel Haley.
Do you know what, just on that one a second, is I got really hopeful for a second then.
Why?
Because it's like talking about Catco. I'm like, oh, are we actually getting stuff in the office? And then it's like, oh, she becomes a... I'm like, okay, never mind. We'll be out of the office again by episode 6.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Colonel Haley is a hard-line career military woman who lives and dies by orders of her commanding officers. Dedicated to her country, she always acts in its best interest, even if it's not her own. So that's that. And then the final one, Manchester Black, is the type of guy who brings a knife to a gunfight and still walks away the winner. With a dark past, he easily deflects the brutality of his mission with his charm and sense of humour. Now, that description doesn't necessarily tell me they're definitely going to do the elite type story with Supergirl, but I'm still kind of expecting it.
Yeah, I am too. I do like that description of Manchester Black, though. It's very well written.
Yeah.
I know they also confirmed that they are the Russian thing that happened at the end of the season with Kara. They are going to be doing their version of The Last Sun.
I mean Red Sun.
Red Sun. Sorry. Yeah. I'm tired. Red Sun. Yeah.
Just to remind you that these join a couple that were already, Jesse Rath, who plays Brainy, is up to regular, and Sam Witwer was cast last week as Agent Liberty. Why didn't they save the Sam Witwer announcement till Comic-Con with everyone else? I don't know, but hey ho.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, the only thing is he's a slightly bigger name than the others, so.
I mean, he's slightly bigger in that I've heard of him, I suppose. Sure.
That is by default bigger.
Yeah, but he's the sort of guy that I've heard of, but he's never done anything worthwhile either.
You take that back.
Look, a shitty role in a shitty Star Wars video game does not make a star.
a fantastic role or two fantastic roles in a fantastic Star Wars animated show definitely does.
I like Connor, until you mention it, I forget there is even an animated series of Star Wars, never mind multiple.
There is two, and he is in both of them. He's the same character in one of them, but shut up.
Look, stop watching mediocre children's cartoons and get with the proper TV.
He says watching Young Justice every week.
Hey, that's legit good. Don't you start.
So is Clone Wars. So is Rebels. Hopefully, so is Resistance. But can't pass judgment on that one yet.
Teen Titans more important than Star Wars. So, moving on. The Flash also has some casting news. Interestingly, we have so where are we here? Chris Klein has been cast as supervillain Cicada. I think is that how you pronounce that? Cicada. Yeah. I'm not super familiar with this one. I have to be honest.
Not me either.
I feel like they're having obviously we're DC fans, so we know a lot of these villains they pull out, but they're getting so deep with what they're pulling because they're running out of characters at this point.
And they just gotta try and desperately not to use another speedster.
Yeah,
I assume.
So he's a mysterious cult leader who aimed to murder anybody that the Flash had ever saved using trademark lightning bolt daggers. That sounds like an interesting premise, at least if nothing else.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll butcher it halfway through the season, but it's interesting.
They describe him as a grizzled, blue-collar everyman whose family has been torn apart by metahumans. Cicada now seeks to exterminate the epidemic, one metahuman at a time. I feel like there's probably a good Flash story in the comics about him, given his premise.
I would hope so.
Yeah, I haven't encountered it myself, but it makes sense. Jumping over to Legends of Tomorrow, they're expanding their cast. Ramona Young.
Again.
Yeah, Ramona Young is set as the series regular in the role of Alaska Yu. Tom Wilson will recur as Hank. Actually, this is a mistake. It says Hank's father, and then it tells us his name is Hank Haywood. So it means Nate's father. So the article just made a blunder there. So it makes sense. Young Alaska is a typical 20-something easily swept up by romantic notions and fantasy novels. She's something of an expert in the world of magical creatures that the legends encounter in season 4. In the company of the legends, she soon learns to get her head out of the clouds and become a kick-ass superhero. Does she have any superhero skills? It mentions she's into fantasy, but does she actually have any?
Let's be honest. On that show, does it matter? And you're burying the lead. They confirmed we will get more Bebo next season.
I mean, I'm happy about that. Don't get me wrong. Bebo's a lot. They
also said you will see Bebo on at least one of the other shows.
Oh, Bebo's spread and Bebo's love cannot be contained.
Yes, because we need to legitimately be able to call it the Beboverse, and we can't do that until he shows up on every show.
Bebo is. That's it. Bebo is. Anyway, with a lifetime in the military and Department of Defense, Hank is part of a long line of Haywoods to serve the country. Charming and charismatic, he's left big shoes for Nate to fill, and it doesn't help that Nate can't tell him he's secretly a legend. So it doesn't sound like we'll get a lot of him. It sounds like it'll be in a couple of episodes. It sounds like the sort of thing there'll be an episode focused on Nate's relationship with his father, and then he'll pop up when he's relevant later on in the season for a.
And he'll show up in the past at one point.
Aye.
Yeah, we'll get a younger version of him.
Sure.
I'm sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then Black Lightning, no new cast, but Painkiller, Jordan Calloway, who plays him, has been up to a regular for season 2.
Which one was that?
He shot the darts, and he didn't have dreads most of the season, but he had dreads in the last couple of episodes.
Okay, yeah. The boyfriend.
Yeah, so, I mean, he was there enough that it doesn't really feel that much of a difference, but just kind of an official status.
I know you're on about now.
And then Arrow, again sticking with the DC shows, announced new castings for season 7. Holly Alyssa has been cast. She's from Whistler. Michael Johnson was from Van Helsing. Miranda Edwards from The Magicians and Orphan Black. And they've been cast as the Lethal Longbow Hunters, the legendary group of assassins that were recruited by Ricardo Diaz to exact his revenge on Oliver. And that reminded me he's going to be back next season. I'm upset about that. So that's the thing.
Oh, I can't wait to get drunk again to watch that show.
Alyssa will play Red Dart, a ruthless, precise killer. Johnson will play Kodiak. I love how close that is to Kodak, and they're like, "Oh, you're obsolete, son."
Just throwing an eye.
And then Beast of a Man with brute force, and then Edwards is playing the Silencer, a master of stealth. that's interesting because Silencer's a pretty new character. In fact, issue 7 of her comic book just came out this past week.
Yeah.
And she has nothing to do with Green Arrow in the comics. This is just someone they've pulled for this.
Who's the slot that they've originally used then? I'm not super familiar with the Lumber Hunters.
I don't know.
Is it someone they've used already, and then just they're like, oh shit.
Maybe.
I
wonder if she'll have her power, because it just says a master of stealth. I hope she still has her bubble power, because in the comic she has a power where she can make like a bubble of silence where no sound passes through, so she can like fire guns and stuff and like have fights like in silence, like behind like a group of people.
Yeah, I would hope so, because that is her unique thing, and it's pretty cool. Like it's used to. I mean, obviously it's only 7 issues in, but it's been used to some great effect already.
It has indeed.
So I'd hope that it's weird. Here you go. One of the members was Eddie Fires, who was the mercenary on the island in like season 1 or 2. The guy with the big rocket launcher.
Yeah, he's a much bigger character in the comics than he was in the show. I don't even remember him barely in the show.
Yeah, but that'll be why they've got to put someone else in that third slot, because they already wasted him.
I wonder if she'll have a story where she sort of becomes good, because her thing in the comic is that she's kind of a reformed assassin. She's got a family now and she's trying to live a normal life.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they'll go that story, or they'll make her the worst person ever just to go completely against the character, because they do that with all the characters, because why not?
Yeah, I mean, if I want to justify it, it's okay, this is still her when she was, in the assassin business.
Sure.
It's a younger version. We'll get to the Silencer story that we're there now. That'll come later. It won't. It's Arrow, but in my mind, that's later.
That does end the CW shows, but it does not end the DC shows, because we've got some Krypton news to mention, and that is that it revealed that in season 2 we will be seeing Lobo in some capacity, the main man. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Lobo fan. I don't think you are either.
Nah. He's I mean, he can be okay, but I'm not excited by him.
Yeah, but I mean, the shows aren't enough trust with me that, in context, I'm sure I'll be fine. If not good.
They also confirmed we'll be seeing Kolu at some point in this season, which is interesting too. So.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I'm intrigued to see if Lobo looks pretty good, because I mean, everyone else in the show looks good, but I'd like Lobo to look good as well.
Yeah, I mean, it mentions his backstory. I don't know if this is just the articles giving us the description of him from the comics, or if this is actually what the show put out as. No, this is his backstory. He murdered his entire planet when he was a teenager, and now he rides around a motorcycle in space.
Sounds like just the comics to me.
Yeah, so we'll see what they do with that. But hey, so that's all the comic book show casting that we've got. So here's an interesting thing: Snowpiercer, which TNT are doing. Netflix came on board to be the international distributor of it, so it's going to be a Netflix original in the rest of the world, and that is coming in 2019. Everywhere but America and China is going to be Netflix, so that's cool. Futuristic action thriller series revolves around the remnants of humanity trapped inside a gigantic train after the world has become a frozen wasteland. It raises questions about class warfare, social injustice, and the politics of survival. So there you go.
That's cool. I'm looking forward to this a little bit less than I was, given the behind the scenes troubles that it's had recently.
No, that makes sense.
But I mean, hopefully it's still good, and Netflix coming on board now at least makes me go, well, they're seeing something in this latest version, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So next up, the Lord of the Rings TV show at Amazon is sort of moving along a little bit. They've hired the writing team of J.D. Payne and Patrick Mackay to develop the series, which will be a prequel series set before Fellowship of the Ring. Interestingly, the credits they give for, because this is a pair that have been working together since high school, essentially. It's like, they've got a lot of big work coming out soon. They're writing the script for Star Trek 4. They're also writing the script for Jungle Cruise, which is the Rock's big movie at Disney. But obviously we've not seen them yet. But clearly Hollywood is into them, because they're.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that people keep hiring them means they must be doing something right at this stage, right?
Yeah.
If they're untested in terms of box office, I assume, if they're the credits we're being given. But clearly, whatever spec scripts they're turning in, people must be quite happy with them.
Yeah. So, actually, I don't think they're technically spec scripts, because they're all work for hires.
That's a fair point.
A spec script is typically your own original thing you hand in and say, hey.
Yeah. I assume they must have had some of those in at first.
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, most writers probably do, because you don't just get handed the keys
I
to...
mean, I assume that's how you get given a franchise like that, is you turn in some good spec work.
So, Reboot are alive and well, because to salad and scrambled eggs, Frasier Crane is considering a comeback.
I saw.
Kelsey Grammer is working with CBS to potentially develop a new Frasier show, and this has got some really, really weird wording in it. So unlike the slew of recent revivals of comedy series with the original cast and the original creative auspices, including Will and Grace, Roseanne and Murphy Brown, Frasier is envisioned as a reboot lately set in a new city with the title character played by Grammer. Now, This is really weird, because the first half of this goes out of its way to try and tell you that it's not a continuation, but I think it actually is. I think they're just being really weird with their wording. As someone who's watched all of Frasier and knows how it ends, I actually know what this means. I think.
Okay, I've not. I mean, I've seen bits of Frasier. I've never watched it properly. I just saw bits on TV. What I take from that, is that it's set after the show. It's still, his character.
Yeah.
Just somewhere else with a different supporting cast.
Yes, and that makes sense, because his whole character when Frasier started was that he was in Boston for Cheers, and he moved back to Seattle where his family is, and that's when we got Niles and his dad and Daphne and all that.
Yeah.
It's mild spoilers for the end of Frasier. But at the end of the show, he basically decides that that was such a good choice in his life, was to move and start over, and he had such a great time over the 9 years in Seattle, or was it 11 years, however long Frasier lasted, that he's like, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go, and because there was a tease at the end where is he deciding to chase after the woman that he's currently kind of into. Is he following her back to whatever city, or is he going back somewhere comfortable? And I can't remember if it was following the girl per se, but it was definitely a new city. It was definitely not either Boston or whatever, right? And there was the whole idea that he was willing to try again, and obviously it's been enough time that I feel like this would be after another trip, unless it just picks up where he's been here already for 15 years, and
it could be he's settled here now.
Yeah, I wonder if he'd still be doing his radio show. I wonder if that would still be his job. But I suppose if you want to completely reboot it and you'd want him to do something different, maybe actually be an active therapist this time, as opposed to a radio therapist.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know why they went so hard to be like, oh, this is different. I mean, it is in the sense that you've not got all the supporting cast. You got you got one man, and they make a point of mentioning they're the creatives behind the camera. So I assume this is not coming from the same creators.
Mm-hmm.
Again, judging just by their wording. But I mean, it's not that different, is it? It's still ultimately a continuation of his character.
But him moving to a new city with a different cast actually fits kind of the just what happened with Frasier in the first place. So it doesn't actually feel like a betrayal, or this is just a cheap way of not having the same cast back. Because I mean, you can't have his dad back. John Mahoney, who played his dad, passed away last year, I think, maybe 2 years ago. But hey, but of course the door would be open for some cameos. I assume if this happens, I guarantee there'll be an episode where Niles and Daphne come and visit with their kids.
Yeah, a little family visit. Yeah. That's not unheard of.
I mean, that happened in Frasier with Lilith coming to visit every so often. She was still kind of a recurring guest. Once or twice per season we'd get a Lilith episode. I feel like we'd probably get that with Niles and Daphne.
Yeah, have everyone over for Thanksgiving or Christmas. So pick your occasion.
Yeah. So that makes sense. And that's the other thing. His son, who was 4 or 5 at the start of the show, and by the end of the show was hitting 12, 13 or whatever. Now he
maybe about 30.
Yeah, he can be 30 now.
Yeah.
So that could be funny. Yeah. Hey. So moving on. So on to the big stuff. So here's Netflix at it again, and here's Locke and Key at it again, because Locke and Key for the 3rd time has a show in development. In fact, it's been ordered to series this time, which is further than it's ever gotten. So
yeah. I still don't believe it's going to happen at this stage.
It's had 2 pilots and then been turned down twice after each. Once after the first pilot, once after the second pilot. And then we heard it was moving to maybe Netflix were interested in taking it. At first it sounded like it was going to be kind of just taking what was there and reshooting some of it and keeping some of the cast. It sounds a bit more like they're just going to replace the whole cast now.
Yeah, it sounds like they're just going, we'll just do a whole thing from scratch.
We'll do our own thing. The series is based on the IDW comic book franchise of the same name by Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez. It is a horror fantasy series that revolves around 3 siblings who, after the gruesome murder of their father, moved to their ancestral home in Massachusetts, only to find Massachusetts. It was Maine before. They've changed the state.
They're trying to get away from the kingness.
Yeah, they've gotten away from Maine. Only to find the house has magical keys that give them a vast array of powers and abilities. Little do they know that a devious demon also wants the keys and will stop at nothing to attain them. Do you know what gets me? That is the exact same description that was going around with the was it Hulu before? Except they've changed the one word. They've changed Maine to Massachusetts. Which
do you know what the worst part is? That's the one bit that word for word that we would pick up on.
Yeah, it is, exactly is.
That's the one key detail where we go, that's changed. You could have changed a few other things in there, and I'd be like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah, but Netflix is redeveloping the show with new scripts and a new cast. Hill will serve as writer and executive producer on the show, which is developed by Carlton Cuse, Meredith Averill, and Aaron Eli Collette. With Averill and Collette joining the series since it came to Netflix. So those two, so Cuse and Averill will serve as co-showrunners. So they're going to run the show. So hey, that's so it's finally kind of happening, and I'm more convinced it's actually happening because Netflix are doing it.
I'm more convinced because Netflix are better at that.
Also, the phrase "order to series" means it's happening.
Yeah, usually, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll believe it when I see a trailer.
It can be cancelled, sure, but I mean, this is an order for a series as opposed to a pilot. So again, further than it's ever gotten before, and we're into it. We want to see it happen. Let's see it happen. So, moving on, Netflix has ordered a dark comedy series based on the Brian Ralph graphic novel Daybreak. The series finds 17-year-old high school outcast Josh searching for his missing girlfriend Sam in a post-apocalyptic Glendale, California. He is joined by a ragtag group of misfits, including a pyromaniac 12-year-old Angelica and Josh's former high school bully Wesley, now turned pacifist samurai. This sounds amazing. Josh and the group tries to stay alive amidst the horde of Mad Max-style gangs. And then it says in parenthesis, evil jocks, cheerleaders turned Amazon warriors, zombie-like creatures called ghoulies, and everything else in this brave new world that all the stuff it throws at them. I messed up the phrase at the end, but whatever. So
I was kind of into it when you got to 12-year-old pyromaniac, and then you told me about the bully turned pacifist samurai.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Mad Max style gang.
Yeah, because at first it was post-apocalyptic, and I was like, oh, we're doing zombies and shit again, and it's like, no, this is like high school themed Mad Max gangs.
I'm so into this.
This is like, instead of the raiders who are into motorbikes, we've got the jocks who worship footballs, and we've got cheerleaders who like have pom-poms with blades in them and shit. I don't know what, I'm just guessing, but like,
get inventive.
Yeah, I'm into it. This is a 10-episode first season. It's called Daybreak. It's been ordered to series. Yes.
This was Netflix, right?
This is Netflix.
Cool. Netflix just keeps on throwing content at us.
Sign us up. We're doing this. We're covering this. It's happening. Speaking of Netflix, they've also ordered White Lines, a new series from the producers of The Crown and La Casa de Papel. The drama centers on the investigation into the legendary Manchester DJ's disappearance from Ibiza. 2 decades after he mysteriously disappeared from the Spanish island, his body is discovered, which leads his sister to travel there and find out what happened to him. In her search, she will be led through a thrilling world of dance music, super yachts, and lies and cover-ups, all which force her to confront the darker sides of her own character in a place where people live life on the edge. I could not move in a further direction away from this.
Oh, that'd be alright.
I don't know. Ibiza's a red flag for me. I'm good. I'm not saying you couldn't set a good story on Ibiza. I'm just saying it's a sign that I'll probably not like this.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, part of me hopes this is, the character coming in is like, oh, Ibiza, great, and and kind of takes that viewpoint of what a shit place to be.
Lots of people and very noisy. It is a terrible place to be. I want no part of it.
I happen to agree.
Yes. Also very warm. Also want no part of that.
Oh, absolutely not.
It sounds like hell. So, sticking with Netflix, they've also given a green light to an 8-episode limited series called Madame C.J. Walker, which is going to start and be executive produced by Oscar winner Octavia Spencer and executive produced by LeBron James. Written by Nicole Asher, based on the book On Her Own Ground by Alelia Bundles. Bundles? That's a weird... I feel like the first name feels, very... like Alelia. It sounds like a really cool name, fancy, like, proper name. And then Bundles just sounds so basic and normal.
I'm sure you've just offended someone there.
What would
probably this person?
Because Bundles is such a normal name after the cool name of Alelia.
Yeah.
All right.
What's wrong with it?
I don't even mind. This is coming from someone who has boring names. I'm saying the first name set me up for a cool name, and then the second name just dropped down.
I can't talk. I've got 2 first names.
Aye, so you do.
Yeah.
Well, so do I technically.
That's true.
So I mean, whatever. Anyway, Madame C.J. Walker tells the untold and highly irreverent story of the black hair care pioneer and mogul Madame C.J. Walker. You didn't have to tell me her name again. I got that. And how she overcame the hostile turn of the century America, epic rivalries, tumultuous marriages, and some trifling family to become America's first black self-made female millionaire. I get why they're doing this. I'm assuming this will probably be a great performance from Spencer because she's typically very good. Probably not my type of thing though. This sort of biopic.
I agree.
Yeah, but
yeah,
I get it. I get it.
I mean, is there anything Netflix aren't making this week?
Well, the next thing's not Netflix.
Oh, okay.
So
we're done with Netflix then.
Amazon has ordered. I mean, to be fair, Netflix gave us like 3 premiere dates and like 4 new shows there. Like.
That's what I mean. I feel like we've been on Netflix for a long time.
So Amazon has ordered the limited series based on Taylor Jenkins Reid's novel Daisy Jones and the Six. It is a 13-episode series. It is a co-production between Amazon Studios and Reese Witherspoon's Hello Sunshine banner. Reese Witherspoon's getting around a bit with her producing stuff, isn't she?
Production, yeah.
We got Oscar-nominated screenwriters Scott Neustadter and Michael H. Weber, who worked on The Disaster Artist, of all things. Daisy Jones and the Six centers on a fictional rock band in the 1970s following their rise through the ranks of the LA music scene and beyond, eventually becoming one of the most legendary bands in the world. Original music from the series will be made available exclusively through Amazon Music. You shills, Amazon. You shills.
That's fine. I'm already in the ecosystem. I'll take it.
I get that
I'm really into this.
I get that it's going to be music based, but at the same time, I kind of feel like, do you have to mention that in the original announcement? Like, just to save that for close to when after you put a trailer out and people go, "Oh, that song was really good," and then say, "Hey, you like that song in the trailer?" Because all that music's coming to Amazon Music. Like, you do it then.
No, I get it.
Do it then.
I get it. Yeah. Yeah, and they'll be like, just ask your Echo for more details.
This is like when they announce like a franchise and they say, "Oh, we're doing a movie, a cartoon, and a TV show, and a comic book all together," and it's like you're getting
just see if people like it first.
You're getting ahead of yourself. Do one thing, make us like it, and then we'll entertain the idea of following all these other things.
Yeah. Looking at you, Dark Tower.
Yes, Dark Tower. Yes. I'm sure there was another one.
A TV show that's definitely not happening, right?
What was the one I was thinking of recently?
Kingkiller Chronicles, one of those.
No, I mean it's one thing when it's like there's a book series and they're planning on it, but I'm thinking more like I'm sure it was a video game, but they announced that it was going to be a TV show and a comic book, and I'm like, come on, let's see if anyone likes it first.
It does sound vaguely familiar now that you mention it.
I can't think of it though, but it's happened. AMC has picked up an anthology series called Dispatches from Elsewhere, and it is created and starring Jason Segel. And it's an hour-long series about a group of ordinary people. So I assume this is like a season-by-season anthology as opposed to one episode.
Sounds like it.
The hour-long series is about a group of ordinary people who stumble into a puzzle hiding just behind the veil of everyday life. They will come to find that the mystery winds far deeper than they ever imagined. The series will include viewer engagement elements across multiple platforms, and it's
piss off.
It's going to start shooting next year. I feel like that can't be like a big deal though. Like they can't really like. It's not like they're waiting to shoot the next episode to see what the viewers pick or something like that. At best, they'll shoot 2 versions of something, and it'll be like an A or B. You can vote A or B.
Yeah, but I hate that. Just tell your goddamn story.
Oh, I agree. But I'm just saying that's. At best, that's what
You
it'll
say
be.
at best. That sounds horrific.
Well, when I say at best,
I don't
mean
want the audience picking the direction.
when I say at best, I don't mean the use of it. I mean at best in terms of how it'll actually function. Like there'll actually be like a function to it,
I'm with you.
as opposed to it being exactly nothing, which it might also be, which would be better. But
why? Who cares? Who wants TV to be interactive? Just I'm watching TV so I can do nothing.
yes. So next up, Apple is closing a deal to get the rights to turn Time Bandits into a TV show.
Of course.
This is the Terry Gilliam directed fantasy film. It's in development as a co-production between Anonymous Content, Paramount Television, and Media Rights Capital. Gilliam will be a non-writing executive producer, meaning that he'll just get some credit because he created it and was involved in it originally.
It'll be, here's some money because we're using your ideas.
Released in 1980, Time Bandits is a dark, irreverent adventure about the imagination, bravery, and the nature of our dreams. It follows the time-traveling adventures of an 11-year-old history buff named Kevin, who one night stumbles on 6 dwarfs who emerge from his closet. They are former. I've never seen this movie. I wasn't actually aware this is what it was about. They are former workers of the Supreme Being who have stolen a map that charts all the holes in the space-time fabric, using it to hop from one historical era to the next in order to steal riches. Throughout the movie, they meet various historical and fictional characters, including Napoleon and Robin Hood, while the Supreme Being simultaneously tries to catch up with them and retrieve the map. So it's kind of a mix of Bill and Ted with Snow White.
I don't think I can dispute that. I mean, why would you pick 6 dwarfs? That's way too close to 7.
Yeah, no, I agree.
There is 7 dwarfs for Snow White, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Just checking. I mean, I can see how this functions as a TV show, though, right? Each episode is a different time period.
Yeah. It's almost. I can almost see it being too formulaic at that point. Actually, that every. It's kind of because that was maybe the one thing with Timeless that was kind of like a bit. It's like do some 2-parters. Like it was getting a little bit tiring that every episode was like
it was. Yeah.
They were in a different time period. So,
yeah. No, that's true. But I guess they still want that sort of thing, that content around.
Yes.
People want it. I mean, I know on Twitter, Timeless was the thing that was trending most over Comic-Con. Obviously, Timeless wasn't even there because it was dead. But it was the thing that trended most over that weekend.
Yep. Yeah, I mean this makes sense. This could be good. Add this. This is number 75 on the list of shows that Apple has ordered, despite not actually having a service to put them on yet. But we're getting there. This may actually be the greatest launch in the history of streaming service launches. They could probably launch with like 15 shows out the gate.
I think they're going to launch with at least 5.
Yeah. Because
they're going to have a bunch of non-original content as well, I assume.
You would imagine so. Maybe they're arrogant enough to think they don't need it though.
I mean, if anyone can get away with it, it's Apple.
I just hope if they do launch with 5, there's just 1 or 2 that we care about that we're interested in. Because if they hit us with 5,
because time is a problem.
That said, though, I mean, I imagine they'd want to cover different demographics. So obviously, the sci-fi show or 2 that are there we'll take, and then maybe a horror show if there's one of them. But your Reese Witherspoon produced
any horror
dramas.
Yet,
What? Sorry, I don't think so. But I'm assuming they'll announce some.
Well, no, that's if I recall, they wanted to be relatively family friendly, didn't
that's
they?
Right,
across the board. So I don't know if we'll get a horror, anything horror wise from.
Yeah, I'm still seeing that though as PG-13, though they can still do that. Like they're still up to that level.
No, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, FX has ordered a limited series based on the life of Bob Fosse and Gwen Verdon, with Sam Rockwell and Michelle Williams attached to star. That's big names. So, based on Fosse, the biography written by Sam Wasson, or Wasson maybe, the untitled 8-part series tells the story of the romantic and creative partnership between Fosse and Verdon. He was a visionary filmmaker and one of the theatre's most influential choreographers, to say that properly, and directors. Well, she was the greatest Broadway dancer of all time. Together they changed the face of American entertainment at perilous cost. Featuring Fosse's choreography, the series explores the hidden corners of show business and the price of pursuing greatness and the suffering inflicted in the name of art. They're going to start making this in the fall and premiere it next year sometime. So,
cool. Who was this again?
FX.
FX. Okay.
So you can expect a reasonable degree of quality.
Yeah. I mean, this is not necessarily what I'd expect from FX. But yeah,
I think
it could be alright.
I think it's more in line of their like true crime and feud shows as opposed to.
But it doesn't even sound like it's quite in that, does it?
Yeah.
It sounds a little bit different to those. Maybe that's just me kind of reading it wrong. Maybe it will feel like one of those shows.
I mean, that's great casting. I think it's good gets for them. I don't know if I'm necessarily interested in the story, but
depends what they do with it. Like if I can see it as like something like Whiplash, that sort of story, where I could be really into that.
Okay,
but maybe not. Who knows?
So next up, teenage super spy Alex Rider is coming to the small screen. Sony and British producer 11th Hour Films have teamed up for an 8-episode adaptation of Point Blank, the second book in the Anthony Horowitz young adult series. The show will feature reluctant spy Rider as he infiltrates a controversial correctional academy for the wayward offspring of the ultra-rich. Acting as an unofficial agent for the MI6, he investigates the sinister purposes of the academy.
That's cool. I read these books when I was younger.
I literally never heard of them until this story, but
yeah, I've read a lot of Horowitz's work actually. Quite a few of his series. I was quite a fan when I was younger. Obviously, you can say how they are now because I've not read them in a very long time.
Oh, this is the second book, but so it's an early one.
No, I think there was like 6 or 7 in total, if I recall. I think the first one did get a film adaptation a while ago. I'm not sure what that was called now though, but I vaguely remember it happening. So I assume maybe that's why they're jumping in with this, rather than going, "Oh, people might have seen this on the cinemas." So we'll do something a little bit fresher.
Next up, we have Real World Management has acquired the rights to Kimberla Lawson Roby's 14-novel series. 14-novel series. I mean, obviously there's bigger than that, but it's just like, whoa, okay, so there's already a lot of these in the bank.
It's pretty hefty, right?
Yeah. It's called The Reverend Curtis Black. So you're expecting 14-novel series? Oh, it's going to be some fantasy thing that's been going on forever, dragons and fairies and shit. No, The Reverend Curtis Black. The popular series tells the story of a prominent and very married pastor who is consumed by power, money, and women. So they've got the rights to the novels with an eye toward developing a TV show with Roby set to serve as executive producer. So, yeah, Ruby has authored 27 novels, 12 standalone novels, and the 14 published Reverend Curtis Black books. And there's a new novel with him in it, published at the end of this month, actually. So, I can't believe there's a 14-book series about a reverend who's a bit corrupt.
Me, it's funny, you go, oh, you're probably thinking it's some fantasy thing, and it's because this is it's the same thing you always say with movies, with sequels. When you get to those crazy numbers, like double digits, up until recently, it was always horror movies.
That's true.
And I feel like it's the same with books, right? I feel like, okay, when you get into those sort of crazy numbers, it's usually some big fantasy epic. It's weird that this is one with that many books.
It is strange, but hey, that's what's happening. So
hey, people clearly want to read it.
So there you go.
For whatever reason, not me. I'm not interested.
Yeah, it doesn't really sound like my sort of thing, but hey. Nicole Kidman's Blossom Films and Bruna Papandreou's Made Up Stories have got preemptive deal and the rights to 9 Perfect Strangers, which, surprise, surprise, is based on a book by Leanne Moriarty, who also did Big Little Lies. So clearly all the works from that author are kind of like getting adapted now after Big Little Lies was a hit. The new novel pairs 9 strangers who gather at a remote health resort for 10 days, some to lose weight, others to get a break from their lives, and maybe a reboot. See, people can reboot too. Each is prepared to put in some work to attain those goals, but it becomes a lot harder than they expected. I was expecting like a murder by the end of the description, and I never got one. I was really expecting
a little bit disappointed.
Some sort of mystery element. No, it's just they're trying to like lose weight and feel better, and it's going to be hard. Okay. Sure.
I feel like there's got to be a murder.
There's always a murder,
and they're just not telling us. Yeah, there's always a murder somewhere.
Yeah. Maybe it's just murdering self-esteem in this one. I don't know.
I mean, maybe. Who knows?
But yeah, that's happening. Endeavour Content has acquired A Gentleman's Murder, an Inkshares debut novel.
Told you there's always a murder.
By Christopher Hung. and it will develop for TV. The novel is set in 1924 London and follows the investigation of a murder at a prestigious soldiers-only club. The victim whose murder sets the story in motion is Albert Benson, the Britannia's club's newest member and the first non-soldier. He is found stabbed in the club's vault. The seemingly random contents of his safety deposit box, the only clues to his murder. When the detective assigned by Scotland Yard appears to be intentionally subverting the investigation, Lieutenant Eric Peterkin, one of the club members and a half-Chinese son of a British colonel, undertakes his own search for the truth, one that quickly points to the disappearance from a war and each of his fellow club members as potential killers.
It sounds really generic.
It sounds like
it's a murder mystery.
The writer really likes Agatha Christie and Sherlock Holmes. That's what this sounds like.
Yeah, but wanted to be a bit more diverse than those stories were.
Yes. Which is a noble enough
with good
goal.
reason, admittedly. Yeah.
I mean, it could be all right. It could be fine. It's just a case of,
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think there is any murder mystery concept that you can just read out that I'll go, yeah, I need to see that.
Yeah, it's all in the kind of the mood and like, does it grab you when you're watching it? Does it pull you in and say, oh, do I care about who the murderer is? Right. Next up, TNT has ordered its first 2018 drama pilots, Constance and Beast Mode. So Constance was written by Casey Perry, who worked on the originals. Constance is described as a fun, darkly humorous, veneer-stripping story about one woman's refusal to fade into obsolescence. It follows a former beauty queen turned small-town bureaucrat, Constance Young, whose life is thrown into turmoil after her husband's mysterious death. Realising that she and her family are on the verge of financial ruin, Constance turns to cooking the books at City Hall, while simultaneously trying to reinvent herself through the hyper-competitive world of direct sales cosmetics. And that's starring Elizabeth Shue as the titular character.
Yeah, okay, I don't think that one's for us.
No, it's not. But hey, Elizabeth Shue was in The Karate Kid, and she was the replacement girlfriend in the Back to the Future sequels. Although I always kind of preferred the first Jennifer, but hey ho. I also know her from Hollow Man. She was the female lead in that.
Anything else?
Nah, that's all I can think of. She was never in the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so I was just hitting for anything.
Look, we spoken about an actual Buffy story earlier. You don't need
Which
to
is
make
why that
reference.
doesn't count. It has to be a reference on its own somewhere else.
A lot of bullshit.
Beast Mode is inspired by the life of legendary boxing trainer Anne Wolfe, and it is written and executive produced by David Schneiderman. Beast Mode tells the story of a feisty, brilliant yet damaged woman with a killer-be-killed mentality. These qualities make her an excellent trainer. They tend to cause problems in the rest of her life. That is very close to professional and personal life.
It is. Didn't we have a show like a month ago about a boxing trainer?
Yes.
Okay, I thought so. I'm just like this. I was getting some deja vu from this.
Yep. Which does take us on to the final news story of the week. So, One Night in Winter is the name of it. It's based on a book of the same name by Simon Sebag Montefiore. What's a fun name? I probably butchered it, but it's a fun name all the same. Hat Trick Productions have optioned it. The book tells the story of marriage, childhood, danger, and betrayal in Stalin's Moscow during the bleak days after World War II. Inspired by a true story, the series is set in Moscow as the country celebrates its victory over the Nazis. However, on a nearby bridge, a teenage boy and girl dressed in traditional 19th century costumes lie dead. The victims are the son and daughter of a high-ranking Soviet official, and they attend the most elite school in Moscow. Was it an accident or murder? Is it a conspiracy against Stalin, or one of his own terrifying intrigues? On Stalin's instructions, an investigation begins into what becomes known as the Children's Case. Youth across the city are arrested and forced to testify against their friends and parents. As families are ripped apart, all kinds of secrets are spilled out. Trapped in the centre of this witch hunt are two pairs of illicit lovers.
See, as far as murder mysteries go, that's more intriguing to me because you're throwing Stalin.
It's very specific as murder mysteries go.
Yeah.
It's based on a true story.
Like I said, the last one is just, someone's dead, and here's a bunch of just stuff around it. Whereas this is okay. This is very specific. We got Stalin, all that stuff. His family, linking it to that. I'm like, okay, I can see something there, and it could be interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's it. That's the news. That is the news for this week. Quite meaty. Quite a meaty show. I think. Maybe not quite as meaty as last week, but solid.
Yeah.
Cool. So we have two new shows we watched this week, and that is Castle Rock and Sharp Objects. Castle Rock's got a weird advantage here though, because it's had 3 episodes. 3 went out on the first day. We were a little bit late in getting to it. Same reason why we're late on the news shows this week. We had like Thursday, Friday were just like no record days, which is rare. That never happens. So we record stuff most days, and we just couldn't record for 2 days. It was a nightmare, and backed up a lot of content. But because of that, we started a little bit late. We did the first review. It's already up. The second review will be up. Am I putting that up first or this up first? I don't know. I'll put this up first.
No, you decide the schedule.
The second Castle Rock will be up very soon after this news goes up.
Probably by the time you finished watching all this.
Very possibly.
I'm giving him some time here. I'm giving him work.
Very possibly. I'm not going to promise that though. I think the more likely scenario is that it'll be up about 12 hours later. 10, 12 hours.
Well, I said possibly.
Yes. Just to spread out the content a little bit. Come on, I'm not a machine. So yeah, it's basically between Castle Rock and Sharp Objects for best show of the week, because that's all we watched in terms of new stuff.
It's no competition for me. It's Castle Rock.
You know, Castle Rock.
I'm not really feeling Sharp Objects that much.
I mean, I would probably pick Castle Rock as well. I feel like though, I do think that Sharp Objects is a tighter directed show. I think it has a more clear tone that it's going for, and it's definitely a bit more confident in that sense. But Castle Rock's plot...
I can't argue with that, yeah.
Castle Rock's plot and some of its characters are a bit more to my taste and a bit spicier.
Yeah, and also, as much as I agree with what you said about the direction in Sharp Objects, I don't actually like a lot of the directing choices.
That's
they're
fair.
definitely there, and they're distinct choices, which... it's something that I can, give it over Castle Rock is I can see that there is I can see what they're going for.
That's a personal thing,
it is personal, yeah, which is why I'm not like taking it away from that. I mean, Castle Rock wasn't perfect by any means. It's all right, but I definitely preferred watching that.
Yeah. I was going to say it's good, but it's not necessarily hitting great levels yet. But we're hopeful.
Yeah.
So and the plan for that is because episode 3 is already out. Episode 3 will likely be Wednesday, and then episode 4 goes out on Wednesday. We'll probably do that on Thursday, and then we should be back. We should be on track for that on a more regular schedule going forward at one a week. Yeah. Just Hulu like to give us hell by giving us 3 at the same time on a week where we had like heavy tech issues and delays for other reasons. So, but there you go. That is that. So, yeah, in terms of promoting other stuff, obviously the new Sharp Objects review will be out pretty much at the usual time. And is there anything else to promote in the next week or so? I don't think there is.
Just checking. No, that's not till the week after.
Better Call Saul's coming the week after, but there's nothing coming up this week to specifically mention.
No, this week it's just it'll just be Sharp Objects and two episodes of Castle Rock in terms of new TV content.
Well, what I will say is that every 3 or 4 months on 121 in Flux, or movie review show, we do a countdown. We do a top list of some kind, and we are at the end of August. We'll be doing our top 50 foreign films, top 50 world cinema, however you want to phrase it. We're not deciding on the exact titling yet, but so if that interests you, you can look forward to that and check out our movie reviews that we have going up on a fairly frequent basis.
Yeah, there'll probably be foreign films for the next month or so, just to get in the spirit.
Yeah, probably. Barring vote winners and things. What's a vote winner, you ask? Well, our patrons can vote over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. That's one of the perks. You get some stuff early. You get to support the channel and everything we do. So that's great if you want to do that. If you don't want to do that, still go over there for the list of all the shows and the audio feeds and everything else. Plus, you can also like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff all helps. But that is us. So thank you very much once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?